Hello and welcome to PM Express. My name is Nana Asako. Now once again I'm back at the auditorium at Northford University. I came here once to speak to Dr.Nana Oppong on biometric registration and the legal aspects to it. And as you do, obviously you establish an acquaintance and you start talking. And some of his journals that he's reading I thought was very intriguing. And since this week is all about motivational, deep thinking and positive ideas that will feed the soul, I thought I'd come back here and talk to him more. Now this journal is called Seduction and Legal Empires, the Intelligent Scramble for Power Amongst Nations. Those of you who follow That's My Opinion, which is a program I do enjoy, and I asked Doctor if I can kindly borrow some of your intelligence and use it in my show. And I was saying that amongst the 25 million of us, per this analogy, then not many of us are Ghanaians. But I'm here to talk further because I just tip a little bit of the iceberg. And I'm glad that out of his busy schedule, Doctor's granted me this hour to share his idea, to play his part for God and country. Welcome to PM Express Motivational Week. Welcome.
Thank you.
And thanks for granting me this interview.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you. Yeah.
Now, I've already borrowed some parts of this work, and I used it for my radio program, and the feedback was, making us all realize that the battle for intelligence is really real, even though we haven't, looked at it. But just in a brief introduction, what is seduction and legal empires, or scramble for intelligence? What does it mean?
All right. The summary of it is now we live in a world where superpowers, middle powers, and every sort of power is looking for ways to augment power, to stabilize power for their own purposes. And the best ways they've developed to do that is through seduction and the creation and imposition of laws on persons, groups, and nations.
I see.
And so the whole idea is now there's a power struggle in the world, and it's no longer about gold and diamonds. It's about intelligent minds.
Guns.
Guns have become very little consequence in the game of power. Right now, it's the control over the minds of people that gives you power. The ability to control millions of intelligent people to serve your cause, to be loyal to you, to understand you, to love you. That gives a national power, not having guns and money in the bank and oil in the ground. Those are small fractions of power, but the big fractions of power are intelligent minds.
Wow. Now it goes on to say united intelligences as power.
That's right. If you think 5 creative people can create something, what about 1,000 creative people? What about 1 million? What about 100 million? So you can see the logic of it. But all these creative people have to be put together to work harmoniously for a cause, for a nation, for an agenda. So when you're united and you're very smart and you're very loyal, that's when you have power. So the whole issue is about how do we get a lot of intelligent people to unite around a cause, to unite around a nation, to unite around development.
Without necessarily being in that particular nation.
Right. Some may be in a nation, but many will not. So if you have a very intelligent person in, say, Burundi, you need that person. So you have to find a way of reaching out to that person, motivating that person, and making sure that person becomes a part of the team. So it's team building. Mm-hmm. So what's happening now is the new agenda is to reach out to as many intelligent people as possible, wherever they are, and let them love you, love your nation, love your goods, love your services. And when they love you, and then you talk to them through whatever means you have, and then suddenly, when they show interest, you gradually pull them through laws to become virtual citizens of your nation. So there will be, for example, Ghanaians, but not truly Ghanaians because their consumption patterns, their ideals, their dreams, their movies they watch, the films they make themselves, music, food, fashion, everything becomes foreign. So they become foreigners.
I mean, the next item or the next paragraph here says smarter foreigners as citizens.
Right. Look, a citizenship before used to be defined by where you're born or formally, which means if legally you apply and you qualify, you become a citizen. But now the third category of citizenship is by adoption. So for example, I'm in Ghana and I want to adopt a very brilliant citizen, a person rather, from another country. What you do is get the person to love the things of Ghana, the ideals of Ghana, the products of Ghana, the service of Ghana, even the people of Ghana. When that person loves Ghana the way they're supposed to, they become Ghanaian in ideals, in the way they talk, in the way they dress, in the way they believe and do everything. So when finally I need that person to buy a product, I need that person to support a cause, I need that person not to do certain things, he or she would do that easily because they are practically Ghanaian. And you just change the word Ghanaian and you can see, you can substitute it for any other nation that has power, that's trying to get as many people as possible. And they don't care. You shouldn't care about where the person is, as long as they're intelligent and they love you. So it's all about get people to love me and get them to obey my laws. And that's all.
Loyalty as gold.
Right. In a world of competition where people are moving from here, they're constantly being told, this is better for you, this is good for you, leave this, leave that, consume this and that. You want people who are loyal to you. Loyal because when people are loyal, they don't leave you that easily. They're not easily moved by suggestions, counter-suggestions. They're not easily moved by gifts and bribery and so on and so forth. So the whole thing is, I want intelligent people on my team, but intelligent people that are loyal, because then I can count on them. If you don't have loyal people on your team, they become shifty. Then everything that you do, they either betray you or they don't do it well.
I like that loyalty. We'll probably come back to it. Soft and effective control system. What do you mean by that?
The brute way of controlling people is through force. Sit down, do this, I'll shoot you, I'll kill you, I'll put you in a prison. That's the commanding structure of people who are not very intelligent. Very intelligent people control others by the soft approach of incentives, motivation, of laws, of beliefs, of emotions, you see, of the various things that move us without even knowing. You can control people. People can become prisoners, even outside, depending on what you tell them and what they believe. And they can become free, even in prison, depending on what you tell them or what they believe. So freedom is not being inside or outside of a place, it's what's up here, what's up in your heart.
So you can even be free in prison.
Right, and then be enslaved outside of the prison.
I see. And then it says law as a spirit and law as a bond.
Yes. Everything is by laws. God started the whole world with his own laws. And you see, you cannot go against the laws of nature. If you do, you perish. So human beings, the best human laws mirror nature. And when they mirror nature, they bind us like glue. They bind us emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, all that. So then we have a bond. People who speak the same laws, practice the same laws, move within the same laws, behave as such, behave almost the same, identically. And
Christians
therefore,
all over.
That's right. And they are one. They are one. So that's why it's very important that we all understand the same laws, because number one, efficiency. You have to have the same laws. Different laws, contradictory laws won't help us. Number two, then we become one. So somebody can be in Britain. If you and that person obey the same laws, you are one. The law is a bond. And that's why people who believe the same way are brothers and sisters. And the belief is the law.
Let's see. What does it mean by division of limits?
Right. If you go into economics, we talk about division of labor. You do this, and then I do that because you're good at this and I'm good at that. The new approach is divide the world into areas of responsibility. So you, for example, in Ghana, your responsibilities are from A to C. We don't want any more, we don't want any less. Do this, do that, and then let the other person do this and do that. So they're dividing the world into spheres of legal responsibility so you can have legal control. So it's no longer a division of labor, it's a division of limits, your legal limits. So if you were to see the map of the world as being drawn by those who are trying to control the world, you see that each nation, each region has a different color, different responsibilities, different expectations, and therefore different jurisdictions.
So you only bring me 20% of processed cocoa beans. The rest, I don't want it.
I don't need it. I don't want it. You're exceeding your jurisdiction if you do more than that.
I see. Deep. That's deep, if you ask me. And it's this intelligent law as a biosystem. That confuses me. That I need a bit of doctor to break it down here.
Right. So a biosystem is anything that works with nature. You look at the ecosystem. You look at our bodies. You look at animals, fish, and all that. There's a whole system that nurtures, that takes care of all of us, according to nature. And the rules and regulations that regulate all of us. So real laws that work that way. It's organic. If the law is good, it will help you to achieve your goal. There's always the best law, which is the best vehicle to approach a problem, to solve a problem. So when we have the best laws to solve a problem, that mirrors nature. It's organic. It's like a biosystem. And when it doesn't work, it means it's not connected to each other. The traffic rules must mirror nature. Directions, opposite, traffic numbers, volumes, and so on, darkness and things. So once you figure out there's going to be congestion here, is the light system needs to be fixed. There needs to be someone to control the people, right, and so on and so forth. It mirrors nature and everything moves. Once you say no, everybody does their own thing, that everybody does their own thing law will not work. It doesn't mirror nature. In other words, it's not efficient. Mm-hmm. Efficient, well-coordinated, smooth laws are biosystems.
So intelligence laws as a biosystem.
That's right.
So the law should mirror
nature.
Nature.
And nature is interconnectedness. And they figured it out that it works best. Laws work best when the manufacturer of this gets you to do that. And then the licensor gets you to do this. And then this person gets you to do that. And when all of it is connected, you are controlled. You understand? Mm-hmm. But if everybody is doing their own thing, unconnected, then we cannot achieve the aim of control and of sympathy and of loyalty.
Loyalty again, but then seduction and loyalty.
That's right. If I can get you seduced by a beautiful woman, a beautiful product, a beautiful service, and you become addicted to it, then now you're in love with that product, with that service, with that woman. Now I can tell you, you want more? Okay, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this. I was trying to download a product on the line, and it told me, before you can download it, you have to agree to these terms. I read the terms, I didn't agree, so I wasn't able to download it. But if I was addicted, I'm sure I would have downloaded it. So the whole point of control is first to get people to love something, to be addicted to that thing, and then to bring in the laws and says, if you want more, this is what you do.
And in this part of our world, we have been addicted to foreign things. Very much foreign things. Attitude, culture, language, food, outfit, everything. And now we have to pay for it.
Yes.
Now we have to pay for it. But the next item here says, United Laws of the Earth, formalization as the future.
Right. What's going to happen in the future is a group of people are going to sit somewhere and say, it is not good for business, for a global world which is interconnected, that we have different jurisdictions, different laws, some of them inconsistent, contradictory, and so on. So let's have harmonized rules. In commerce, let these rules apply. In traffic, let these rules apply. Even now, they've started that with aviation. They're doing that with international security. They're doing that with all kinds of health care and so on and so forth. So they do that everything. And what will happen is they will pass rules and regulations that will be imposed on every nation in the world. So it's going to be one law, one court, one system for everyone. And in that system, those who write the laws will dictate how it works, when it is applied, and so on. The small countries, the weak countries, would always be at the receiving end because they would not be part of the writers of the law. But the law will come. The only exception to that would be nations that have sacred laws. And sacred laws are those laws that are dear to the heart of a nation, where you get up and say, we will die for this law. If they see that type of commitment to a law, then they will say, we will exempt that from the united formalization. Otherwise, in the future, you will not have the mouth to say, we don't agree, we disagree. You will agree whether you like it or not. Didn't you take that product? Didn't you download the product? Didn't you take that loan? And so on and so forth. Now you're bound by these laws. So that's another way of saying the world will change into a world of unfreedom, a world of binds, fixations, no limits, prison, and so on and so forth. Control.
Wow. And then the emotional as the exception.
Right. That's what I said. If there's a law that is very dear to a nation because our ancestors did this and that, because our religious beliefs this and that and that, because our whole nation depends on it, our survival, our identity depends on that, that becomes a very emotional law. That's the type of law that people will rise up and say, you can change all the laws in Ghana, but we will not allow you to change these laws. If you have such laws, you'll be protected. If you don't have those laws, in other words, if you're a wishy-washy country, you have no real commitment to the past, you have nothing unique or original, you're just borrowing and consuming like everybody else, then your country will be subject to a totality of the uniform laws of the future.
Importance of sacred, which is, I think it just leads to that.
Yes.
What do we have that is so sacred that we have to keep?
That's a very good question, and you should ask the nation, and I hope that the whole nation will respond to it. If we don't have sacred laws in Ghana, and I can tell you, this is my prediction, and I'm sure you'll hear it, we'll see it in the next 50 years or so, Ghana and many other nations would suffer the consequence of the imposition of foreign laws on us by treaties, by decrees from the United Nations, from bilateral agreements, from wherever, because we don't have. And if we don't have, we better start having some now.
The PT on some nations.
Yes. It's so sad that some of us have to sit here understanding what's happening, being in nations that do not have the power to create that seduction, to create those games, those products and services, those goods and services the people want, the people love, that will lead them to the laws. In other words, if you are a nation and you cannot seduce people, they will not obey your laws. So in Ghana, how many people are seduced by Ghana? How many Ghanaians are seduced by Ghana? What does Ghana have to offer in terms of film, in terms of music, in terms of food, in terms of fashion, in terms of intelligence, in terms of education, in terms of culture? If we're not seducing enough people in Ghana, they will not obey our laws, even if they're born in Ghana. In your show on Thursday, I was listening to you on my way to Kumasi, and you were making that very excellent point. So what's happening is we need to have nations and the capacity to seduce, and I use the word seduction on purpose, so that we can keep our own in Ghana. If not, and they're seduced by foreigners, then they become foreigners. So what we're going to have is what I call highly irrelevant, powerless country. HIPC.
Highly
irrelevant,
powerless countries. Merely existing.
That's right.
Why does law matter?
Laws matter because everything is law. The difference between the developed country and the undeveloped country is intelligent laws applied everywhere, without exception.
Applied, I like
And when you apply intelligent laws, they work. And people inherit laws, they build upon them, it goes into their mind, to their hearts, into their psyche, and they act according to law. We are all robots of the laws that we believe in. Every human being moves according to laws, whether it's spiritual law, emotional law, cultural law, physical law, mental, whatever. So when the laws are very good and they lead you to a purpose, a determined purpose, then it helps the law writer to achieve his goal and their goal. So laws matter.
Doc, you see, we have every good law, if there is any such thing as a good law, going, with us in this country. But somehow, the very, very small percentage of it is applied or obeyed or enforced, or they're just there in a book or on a shelf somewhere. So how then do we protect this law if indeed this uniform law is coming? Do we say, we already have one here?
You remember I talked about the seduction?
Yeah.
You need the seduction, you need the goods and services, the incentives, the motivation, whatever, to make people follow laws. And this could be small incentives. It doesn't have to be material. It could be anything. People play games and they're addicted and they like that. People are praised and they like that. People get recognized and they like that. People go to a place and they feel good and they like that. So we have to create these places and things that move people, and then they obey the laws. You understand? So now if you have a law that's disconnected from people's lives, how do you get them to obey those laws? We all obey laws, just that we are selective in what we obey. When I sit in my car, you put on your seatbelt. Nobody's telling you to do that because you know it's for your safety, and so on and so forth. So we do things that we know are good for us. But if we realize obedience to this law means nothing for me, then people ignore. You understand? So now, where are the incentives for people to obey laws? If those incentives are missing, then you can write all the laws you want. They won't help. But even then, laws are better than not having any laws. Just imagine chaos where there are no laws. The potential threat of law is itself a good thing.
The potential threat
of law
law
is a good thing.
Good. It says option and challenges for receiver nation. Option and challenges for receiver nations. Let me take a break here, and then I come back and then we continue. We go through all that, and then we see how that applies to probably Ghana and Africa as a whole, maybe some of the South American countries who are not playing their part to seduce their own citizens to grab hold of their intelligence. We're coming straight back. Seduction and legal empires, the intelligence scramble for power amongst nations. And I'm talking to Dr. Nana Oppong, who is the chairman of the Research and Training Consultants Department in Knoxford University. And he's got lots of interesting journals, and I'm sure that if I smile, he can let me back in so that we can discuss further journals. But the whole idea this week is just talk something, think deep, something positive that will make Ghana a better place. And we're talking about how the scramble for barriers is over. The Cold War race is over. Nobody's in a hurry to make nuclear bombs, or what they want is your intelligence. What they want is to control your country from wherever they are. As a nation, what are we doing to control what we have? Now, I was just going to go to options and challenges for receiver nations.
Yes. Receiver nations are those nations like Ghana, which don't write the laws, but receive laws because they borrowed money, or they received advice, or they were giving grants, aid. The citizens downloaded products and services. They don't manufacture anything of significance, really. So everything is borrowed from abroad, and they have to obey these laws and regulations and licenses and patents and so on. So those receiver nations, they have options. And then they have challenges. And one of the challenges they have is, how do I consume? In other words, how do I allow myself to be seduced, yet at the same time ignore the laws? It's one of the challenges. It's very difficult to do that. And so they have to figure out, to reduce dependency, they have to reduce consumption, or to be selective in what they consume, to be selective in what they receive. And then they can be freer. Because right now, the way things are, if you're just consuming without a limit, one day you take all the laws without a limit. Before you know, you are a slave to another country.
In your own
to
country.
Other countries. Yes. You see, for me, I'm not interested in laws which are described as freedom laws. Freedom is an illusion. I repeat, freedom is an illusion. What's more important is power. You see, there is no such thing as freedom. Freedom from what? What's important is the power to do. You can be free to walk under a bridge where there's snow and there are cars coming. But if you don't have the power to go into a shelter, what good is that freedom? Mm-hmm. So we need to have powers to do the things that we need to do. And if you give away your powers because you consumed a little, or you consumed consistently, or you consumed more of something you don't produce, then you have a problem. Because you have voluntarily, because of your addiction or your incapacity to help yourself, become a slave of somebody else. And that's what the problem is.
The need for anticipatory and defensive laws.
Right. You don't wait until there's a problem, then you start writing laws on them. It will become too late. What you rather should do is develop laws in anticipation of problems that would arise. Population problems, volume problems, congestion problems, and so on and so forth. And more importantly, laws that would defend a nation and the citizens of a nation. Why don't we have laws saying that even if you download a product or a service and you consume it as a citizen, you are not bound by those laws until they are consistent with our laws? Can we do that? And if we can't, why not? And if we can't do that, who is educating our students, our children, our parents, our friends, our brothers and sisters about how to be careful about the dangers of the laws you're signing? Every law is a restriction. Every law is a restriction. Don't do this. It limits your options. And so when you take a product and the product says, because you've downloaded this product, because you're using this product, you cannot do this, you cannot go where, so this place and so on. That limits your freedoms, right? Mm-hmm. Your powers. Mm-hmm. So why are we allowing all this to happen without monitoring, without calculating as the effect of all these things on our sovereignty as a nation?
Wow. Doc, I'm going to go to your conclusion, and then now we're going to come back and look at our side of the world as a whole to this journal. So what's just a small conclusion, and then we... Actually, no, I'll leave the conclusion to the end. But when you were saying the thing, one thing that came to mind, right, and it's about how we are not creating for ourselves, or maybe, if as you say, thinking small. Because our aim now is to get generation to 5,000 megawatts. Now, according to an energy expert that I had on the show, 5,000 megawatts is just 2 light bulbs per household. And he was saying Singapore, I think South Africa is 300 light bulbs per household before they started industrialization. The United States is like 2,000, over 2,000. The United Kingdom is about over 1,500, 1,700 light bulbs. And we are aiming to get to two light bulbs, and then start thinking about industrialization. It's so small that eventually you will get consumed by what you're talking about, because we have to depend on them.
Yeah. And it has to do with intelligence. You remember we started the whole show by talking about United Intelligences. Mm-hmm. How many intelligent people are working together for Ghana?
Mm-hmm. Not just people, but intelligent people.
Yeah, working together. Remember I talked before about law as a biosystem, United Intelligences, loyalty and so on. How many intelligent people are working together for Ghana, meaning loyal to Ghana, creative? Here at Knoxville University, we like to talk about creative intelligence as the future of Ghana. Mm-hmm. You have to have very intelligent people who are creative, not just intelligent, but creative. How many of those people are in the system working for Ghana? And if you don't have those people in the system, then who's going to create? Who's going to make those products and services and discoveries and inventions, the innovations that would solve these problems? Who's solving the problems of Ghana? I remember one time I heard there was a problem with water in Ghana, and we invited people from abroad to come and solve the water problem. When there's a security problem, first thing you hear is that some foreigners have come to help us solve it. Foreigners, human beings just like you and me, probably not as qualified as some of our people, but the people are not united. And if they're united, they're not loyal. And if they're loyal, they're not intelligent. I'm not saying everyone, no, of course not. But we need to have a system that organizes, encourages, supports intelligent people to love Ghana.
Doc, how do you create such a Ghanaian?
You do through seduction. They have to be seduced. People are doing it in America, in Canada, in the UK, in Europe, and everywhere. They're seducing their citizens. You can do it through games, through stories, through myths, through products and services, the quality of life, through promises, through security, and so on. What are we doing? We have to study other people's successes and modify them, copy them, improve upon them. We can't just sit around eating, drinking, and hoping that the world will get better. It won't get better. It will get worse. The world gets worse unless we do something about it. And we cannot do anything about it unless we are intelligent and united. You can pass all the laws, make manifestos. I always laugh when I hear about governments, new government in power, new government. They can't do anything to help the people because they're all the same. They are powerless. I'm telling you, they're powerless because you need intelligent people to run the nation. The people have to be united. And the governments don't have enough intelligent people. And even if they went out and said, intelligent people come, they won't come because they have to be seduced. And it's not something you do in one election or 2 elections. But it's a whole generation of seduction. It has to go on from mother to daughter to son and so on and so forth. And when you have a lot of them, then they will form the government. They will protect the country.
See, because on Thursday, borrowing from your work, and I was saying that if I brought a ship and said my destination was America and I had about 10,000 ships, I could probably fill it with people just ready to just check out of the system.
Yeah.
Now, I was wondering if you put a child through nursery or class 1 or preparatory school, is there something that you have to put in the curriculum to change that child's psyche? Or is it just mere products, like instead of Spider-Man is Anansi Man games? What do you do for that child to be?
That's right. We have formative years for children to develop worldview, to develop their capacities around the world. And that means you cannot just leave them like that. But it's not just a question of classroom, but it's also the family and the community the child grows in. Very, very important to teach them some excellent systematic things in the classroom. But also very important for them to continue to hear intelligent conversations, intelligent stories, and see intelligent people in action, intelligent steps, intelligent dance, music, and so on and so forth. And if they see it consistently, then they form the concept, the idea, the belief that the world is intelligent, and they expect it to be intelligent, and that as intelligent people, they're supposed to move this way, and not that way. And they develop that idea early on. It becomes a part of their soul. So the rest is easier. If they don't have it before they're 12 or 14 or so, afterwards, it becomes almost impossible to change them. It becomes stupid, to put it mildly, and it becomes very difficult then to make them more intelligent.
You see, we have governments, presidents and ministers, and they travel abroad, and I'm sure they must have a sense that we are powerless. Either than playing the national anthem and hoisting a flag, we pretty much depend on donors for sanitation, donors for supporting your budget. There must be a way to break out of the psyche.
Right, that's why your show is very important, because if people didn't know that you can have no power unless you have united intelligences, then at least this show is the start. You see, we have a future, a great future, but we have to be united and we have to be intelligent. Then we have to have a cause, and we have to be loyal to the cause. So what is our future? It's a world in which either we become powerless or we become powerful. And to be powerful, we have to produce the goods and services that would make our own children love us, love our nation, love our country. And it won't happen if we depend on foreign goods and services and ideas. Look, original ideas are not usually found here. Everything, almost everything, even ideas, curriculum, subjects invented abroad by people like us. If we can change that, if we can get intelligent people to see that there's great wealth in Ghana, to love Ghana, then we have a start. The MP or the politician who travels abroad is a victim. I don't blame them. They're victims of a system that doesn't work, a system in which intelligent people do not unite, they're not loyal, they do not help the government, and the government is always struggling, and therefore has to go and borrow, therefore has to live on manifestos and promises. They know they cannot fulfill these promises, but if they don't make the promises, who's going to vote for them? So I don't blame them at all. All I'm saying is we need to be united and be very intelligent, and we can develop that from childhood, and we have to have a program of intelligence, and I have that. And I hope next time you give me the opportunity to talk about how we can make every child, every home, every community in the whole nation very smart.
I love that. This is a call for intellectual revolution.
That's right.
I think that's what they have to declare. That's intellectual revolution.
Yes.
But how can it affect so many people, though?
In terms of intelligence?
You have smart people that are not intelligent. Because I don't want to say everybody's foolish. It's just that we've just missed the boat.
For people over 25, I'm not fixing the number, but people of a certain age forward, it's too late. But the young ones, just born, being raised up, they have excellent opportunities. And Ghana is a nation that will live, God willing, for thousands of years unless God destroys the world. So we have a great future in the young ones. So those of us who are less crazy, less sick, less stupid. We have to help them so they can be better than us. So as we're getting older, one day we will leave them with the mantle of a greater nation, greater opportunities. So they will be smarter, they'll be more competitive. Look, what's happening right now in the world is smarter people are taking control over their nations. England, United States, Canada, they're not being ruled by fools. They're being ruled by very intelligent people. And when they meet you and you're not very intelligent, what do you expect?
Just walk over you.
And that's what's happening at meetings, at conferences, at inventions, at patents, discoveries. Everything Africa is always last. Just check it out. It's not because God created us last. It's because we're not creating the environment that will make geniuses walk, grow, and become huge for our nation.
Doctor, I don't know how this adds up. But you see, I keep saying that most developed people have developed within their culture. We seem to be an only race of people who want to leave our cultural side and sort of develop away from it. You know, people are not too proud of being Ghanaian. People are not too proud of being African.
Yeah.
And still hope to achieve greater heights. I don't know if it's got anything to do with intelligence. Business.
Absolutely. You see, they've already been seduced. Please, it's very important to think of the seduction very seriously. Satan seduces people and they become part of his own. And when he wants to leave, I'm Satan. You need to be seduced. Even God, if I can use the expression of seduction, God gives you some goods and services, right? Some promises and so on. And you get seduced by the idea. You fall in love with the idea. Then you begin to do his will. Mm-hmm. So we need to have people start looking inward. And that's why I talked about pity the nation. Pity the nation that cannot seduce the citizens because it has nothing to offer.
Wow.
It will lose the citizens and it will become a victim. I can see and foresee a world in which a lot of African countries would have nothing but slavery, self-imposed slavery, because they'll be so weak, so incompetent in even the management of their own lives. The electricity will not work, the water will not flow, traffic will break down, vehicles will break down. They will not do anything. They will go and beg others, please come and manage our nations for us. Partnerships, they will call it. Advice, consultants, they will call it. Aid, they will call it grant. But it's actually saying, please, please, please come and take over our nation because we're incompetent. It will happen unless we have united intelligences, smart people working together, seduced by an idea.
So this has to be done deliberately.
Absolutely. It's being done deliberately elsewhere. People are sitting out drawing tables going, and what rules, what laws, which company can do this? They support companies. So the companies offer services for free. So that through those free services, we can have legal binding agreements with the people who use those services. Whether it's games, whether it's books, whether it's websites, whether it's pornography, whatever. People are sitting down and drawing the table. We are perhaps the only people sitting down hoping that normalcy will help us, that nature will help us, that God will help us. It won't happen unless we sit down at the table and draw the lines and plan our country, plan our nation, plan our future. 100-year plan. Who's doing that?
No, that's too far. Reduce it a bit.
Okay, maybe 75.
Okay. But that's the new world order.
That's the new world order. And it's either you become smart or you become powerless. And if you're powerless, then your citizens will turn against you because they will not buy your goods. So all the industry, local industry will die. And they'll buy from abroad. And once they get dependent abroad, then they want to go there. They want to love that place. And what's your nation? What a nation do you have? They will collude with others to transfer. You were talking about your show, how people will not pollute the terms, and yet they'll come to Ghana and pollute it. Why? Because Ghana is nothing to them. The terms is everything. England is everything to them, or wherever is everything to them. And they would take secrets of the country and take it out. Why? Because they're not loyal. They have their loyalty somewhere else. They're seduced by something else. So we have to start creating addictions for our own country, for our own laws, for our own religious beliefs, for our own customs, for our own chieftaincies, and so on. If you don't have those sacred laws, then you have nothing to defend. They'll bulldoze you away with the uniform laws under the name of efficiency, globalization, modernization. And before you know, nationalism becomes nonsense because there will be no nation but only people loyal to other nations.
Just merely existing.
That's right. The old idea of borders, gone. A new idea of loyalty, in. And it's done through intelligent corruption of people through seduction.
the movies we watch, the books we read. This is what do you reckon, like a generational plan? Because it won't change overnight.
No, it'll take time. And that's why it's very important you mention all these things. If we write our books, create our movies, look at what's happening now. They have local movies now. And people can even laugh and say, oh, I watched this show, I watched that film, and they'll laugh. But if they didn't have those options, all they watch with the television around them, DVDs and so on, and computers around, is they watch foreign movies. They'll listen to foreign music, listen to foreign gospel, and so on and so forth. Before you know, somebody in a village somewhere will be telling you something that happened in New York or Amsterdam, and not knowing what happened at Kumasi or Accra or Bolgatanga, because they're more connected to 1,000 miles away than to a few kilometers away.
You see, even though I don't ask anybody to make apologies in the sort of movies they make, I don't have a lot of time to watch them, but I just find there's they try very hard to emulate a foreign culture. I'm not saying that nobody in Ghana dresses or acts that way, but I would have wanted to see a deliberate movie where you depict something truly Ghanaian, but you don't get that. It's very westernized.
Right, and because they're already seduced, they're already converted. It's the young ones. You go and tell them why it is beautiful to create a Ghanaian movie, the wonder of Ghana, of our people, of our traditions, of our faces, of our tongue, of our dances, of our food, of our ancestors, of our wisdom, of the environment, of our future. They love that. And then you give them the tools and say, now make something out of it. And then you reward them, you praise them, you honor them. They begin to see, whoa, then it's worth investing in Ghana movies, Ghana music, Ghana productions. If you don't do that, and they just see foreign, and it'll be foreign inside, foreign out, right?
Mm-hmm. Whatever goes in comes out.
That's right. And human beings are no more than the things they consume, believe, and are bound by. So laws and goods and services.
Doc, you see, one thing which is going to make this mission difficult is the speed of information. You see, because I'm sure, I don't know what percentage it is, but I'm sure about 20-30% of Ghanaians now are talking to somebody on Facebook who's in probably Hong Kong or New Zealand, miles away.
Yeah.
And it's like instant.
Yeah.
And now you need to try and seduce the Ghanaian who's on Facebook, looking at some hills in New Zealand who thinks it's better than the Togo range. That is going to make our work much, much difficult.
The advantage of God, and actually I should say the greatness of God, is that every child has parents, a mother or both. Mm-hmm. And that mother, if she's raised well or taught well, can influence that kid to be better than the older siblings and so on. So even if we can't reach out to the ones who are already gone because you're already hooked onto something, there are millions of Ghanaians coming up. Let's not lose hope. There's greater hope. Mm-hmm. If we do that consistently, and we're very intelligent about it and organized, and we have intelligent people come together, we are brothers and sisters. Why wouldn't you want to have a nation of strong and intelligent people? Why would you want to go abroad and be second class?
That's if you're lucky, probably third class.
There we go. If I go to any other country, I'll always be referred to as the black this, the black that, right? When I'm in Ghana, I'm not black anything.
Dr.Nana.
There we go.
The black doctor came to lecture.
You see, they'll say that. The black man just rode the car. The black man who is rich. The black man who is smart. The black, hey, stop that. But here, I just relax. Hey, Nana, hey. You see, it's more relaxing. Why wouldn't you want to be here with your people, enjoy the life, the short life that we have, and then you want to be a slave somewhere else? And if you can do it here, do it. And the answer is, intelligent people come together, work for a good cause. It could be a corporation, it could be a community, it could be a church, it could be a mosque, it could be a project, but it has to be deliberate. And I don't know what the government is doing.
You see, Doc, I always say that we've saddled ourselves with a system of electing leaders, and it doesn't give us room for any other thing, because there's about 75% of the energy whoever is in power needs to stay in power. and those out of power need this equal amount of energy to see if they can win power. So there's only a small margin that you can dedicate to education, to help, let alone culture and let alone the revolution of intelligence. We don't have that much space.
We do. If we depend on the politicians, then we don't have much space. But Ghana is bigger. The number of Ghanaians are bigger than the number of politicians. The politicians are a few hundred, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas Ghana is full of millions of people. Imagine if very intelligent people are united. They have leadership. They can do more, and the government will follow suit. The government merely reflects the will, the capacities of the people. Mm-hmm. Where do we get the politicians from? It's from us. So if we can get very good people, powerful people, intelligent people, it will reflect in government. And I don't blame the government, because what happens in effect in Africa, to become a politician, you have to invest a lot of private resources. Mm-hmm. You have to borrow money and so on. And when you get elected, it makes sense that you want to recoup that. And all politicians suffer from 4 distractions. Number 1, poverty. They're not very rich. They become richer when they're in power. Number 2, disappointments. You get disappointed a lot before you become politicians. Number 3, disease. Malaria, whatever, I'm going to mention the names of the diseases. Number 4, fatigue. Add these 4 things, and you can see the man in power is tired, he's hungry, he needs to grab as much as possible. Before his time. So we need to put a system where all these distractions are reduced, where other intelligent people help. So where you can see that I did a little, he did a little, it helped the country. So let's do more and more and more. You understand? There's great insecurity among us, among intellectuals, among politicians, among business people. Everybody is insecure. Therefore, there's this sense of 911, emergency all the time. So in emergency situation, logic doesn't work, instinct. So instinct is, let me grab, let me push, because maybe tomorrow I may not be around.
Agree to that contract to get my percentage and
there we go. We need to change that. We can change that. It's a great future. I believe in God. I think He's great. And He won't leave us like that. And this show, I'm sure, and other shows similar to it will help. And there are other intelligent people that need to come forward to form intelligent associations, clubs, groups, and unite for Mother Ghana and for Africa. I feel that our destinies are connected. We are one. And if you're not smart and intelligent, one day this continent will really be dark, very, very dark, because they'll plunge us into darkness. The lights will go off. The bombs will flow, and there will be nothing but desperation.
Are we not too small to start becoming intelligent and thinking for us? Aren't we too small?
We're not. We're not at all. Look at Israel. How many Jews are in the world? There are about 8 million in Israel. And look how smart they are, how organized they are. Look how beautiful their life is. Because they believe in great things. Because you're united around the one great God. They have the Bible. They believe it. They follow it. They have traditions. We talk about sacred things. The people of Israel have sacred things that they hold on to. You see?
Walk on the Saturdays.
There we go. I like those people because they're very smart. And small as they are, they're very powerful. And why did some people try to eliminate them? It didn't work. It won't work because why? They have sacred values. And they're united people and they're intelligent people. If anything at all, small nation can conquer, provided we're intelligent and united and we have sacred values.
Power is very important. It can make the difference between life and death, between misery and happiness. Doctor, thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you.
And, I say it on air so that I get you committed, but I hope to get you again and talk further on other journals that you've done.
Thank you very much. I'll be around.
Well, folks, that was deep. That was very deep. And until I come back to you again, I say we'll come back and do it all over again. This is Motivational Week.